Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Braver, and alongside me is Logan Camden, and we are now 1 week into the NBA season, Logan. It has been a fun one. It has been a fascinating one. So today we are both going to be giving you 5 takeaways that we have from the opening week of NBA action. We gave you our opening night takeaways. Then we gave you our opening day takeaways. Now we give you our opening week takeaways, Logan. It's just a tried and true format, and it's kind of the only way to do it when we want to cover as much of the league as we do this early in the year. So I hand the baton over to you, my friend. What is your first takeaway from this opening week of NBA action?
My first take isn't that spicy, admittedly, but I think it is necessary to be said. Ace Bailey is not going to win Rookie of the Year. I caught a lot of shit on Twitter for making this take. Hand up, I was trying to be optimistic and different. God forbid. I try to be quirky. I like to get creative with some of the picks. I took
He's
Commanders,
having to do
Bills
a
in the
formal
Super Bowl.
apology for picking Ace Bailey is what's happening right now.
Actually, I don't even really give a fuck about apologizing. This is just an elaborate excuse to talk about the top 3 picks. I just really want to talk about the most interesting rookies from this class because I've been super impressed. One, on the last thing on the Ace Bailey thing, he's not even going to play enough on this team to win the award.
The Jazz front court is too good, man.
It is too good. They're inflated a little bit because of overtime, but I think they're number 1 in rebounds per game right now. God, dude, I fucking love Filipowski, man. He is such a good big man. Like
the Walker Kessler evolution as well. By the way, the Jazz are tied first in rebound rate, so they're just an elite rebounding team. Markkanen looks
50
back
burger,
in form.
50 burger. I'm
And
rocking
Walker
with the Jazz,
passing,
man.
Stretching the floor a little bit with all the stuff he was already great at.
All of that front court passing, man, it's just kind of weird to have that much aggregate playmaking from all of your big men. I really like what the Jazz are cooking, but enough on them. The top 3 picks have been really impressive to me. First, I want to start with VJ Edgecombe. I mean, he has been the star of the show thus far in this draft class. A lot of the questions about him, man, he just has resoundingly answered. Some of the touch shot making that we've seen from VJ, the ease at which he gets to lay up, some of the floater touch, the pull-up shooting is super impressive to me. Just last game, hit this nasty step-back pull-up 3. But this Sixers team as a whole, I mean, their ease at getting into fast break, transition, all of that, the ball handling and playmaking from VJ in the half court, especially the playmaking, that's the big thing to me. He's up near, I think, like 7 or 8 assists per game at this point in the season,
6.
which, small sample size, but these are areas where I thought VJ was going to take a really long time to acclimate to the league, running pick and roll, handling the ball with a decent amount, some of the off-the-dribble shot making. I thought that was going to be some of the garnish with VJ. The bankable traits were the athleticism, the perimeter defense, the transition scoring. But he looks like the total package right now. The other guy, Dylan Harper, has been super impressive to me as well. And really specifically, there's a lot I like with Dylan Harper. It's the shot diet. It's such a young age that is so impressive to me for him. Against Brooklyn, granted, this is Brooklyn's pretty porous and young defense. He goes for 20 points, 6 boards, and 8 assists on 8 of 11 from the field with 2 steals. Carson, he shot 11 times in this game. 10 of his field goal attempts were in the restricted area. He had 1 outside of it. That was an elbow jumper. That was one of our concerns about Dylan Harper, specifically with his archetype. Such a good downhill pressuring guard, but is he going to do this at the next level? And he has, right? He's not settling. He is just relentless, man, and he gets to the rim with ease. He has got this nasty drive and finish through Saraf and Terrence Mann last game. Another one where he just blows by Mann and finishes past Noah Clowney. He's got a couple of nasty finishes on Demon against Brooklyn, too. So the polish that Dylan Harper has for such a young guard, man, it's super impressive to me. And just, he gets downhill unlike any other rookie guard I've ever seen. Again, it's only been 3 games for San Antonio, but it has been a super impressive 3 games. And then
4 games.
4 now. And then for Coop, the scoring and obviously the ball handling and playmaking is a little bit of ways away, but I have been super impressed with him defensively and in transition. And I think that as this season goes along, we're going to see him round out in some of those other areas and really put it together. But I'm blown away. Like, I think all of these guys are going to be studs, man. VJ, I think, has been the most impressive. Obviously, me and you both thought he was the third prospect, but he looks like a superstar. And then I think Dylan and Cooper doing, just about exactly what we thought they were going to. So, the framework of this take, one of those guys I think is going to win Rookie of the Year, but this was just an excuse so I could fire off some more rookie takes. All of them look super impressive right now.
Except for Ace Bailey, who's averaging about 2 points per
Well,
game.
that's why I was talking about the top 3 and not Ace Bailey,
know.
man. We're just going to wipe by it. He's not going to play this year, man. He's going to get maybe like 10 minutes a game for Utah.
It's just one of the most shocking predictions in
You don't
the
have to
history of
pile
Nerd
on.
Sesh.
I already got shit on, dude. You could let me off the hook for the one time,
I'm just saying I was gobsmacked when it
I
happened.
was trying to have God forbid a guy have a little fun, man.
But then why didn't you go with the VJ Edgecombe, who, when you had that take, I specifically said, if you're going to go outside the box, well, it's like, yeah, not that outside the box to take the second or third pick, but all you made me do, Logan, to counter your Ace Bailey prediction was just say, hey, actually, what if the top 3 picks who we all agreed were clearly better prospects than Ace Bailey actually were better at basketball than Ace Bailey?
I thought he was going to start. I thought Ace was going to start.
Well, what we have seen from VJ Edgecombe, first and foremost, has been outstanding this year, because as much as I really liked him and he was my clear third guy, I also had him clearly behind both Harper and Flagg in my prospect rankings, and he has just been so explosive out there. You mentioned the totality of his scoring arsenal, legitimately being able to knock down 40% of his threes so far with decent volume. I was optimistic about his shooting, but that was a swing factor. We've even seen really nice comfort and pace playing out of pick and roll from him, and some of that like intermediate touch shot making. And then he's just this 100-mile-an-hour athlete in the full court. He can blow by you with such ease, and then he's an incredible vertical athlete as well. And the feel has always been impressive with him as a prospect. That was one of the reasons that I was high on him. It's just like, if you play hard and you're that athletic and you're going to compete defensively and you're a pretty good connected passer and a solid shooter, like, I'm going to bet on your success no matter what. And that's why I was confident in VJ being good, and then knew he had some additional upside. But for him to be this explosive offensively this fast, I just did not see coming. He's been easily the best rookie in basketball. Dylan Harper has looked exactly as I expected, though. I am so high on Dylan Harper. And I had no questions about him translating and being one of the most effective and dominant downhill guards in basketball. And specifically, when we have this conversation about, oh yes, rookie guards are so talented, but they often struggle with efficiency and turnovers. I repeatedly made the point that Dylan Harper has the perfect skill set to defy that, because he is specifically excellent at protecting the basketball, and even more so because he has such a ridiculous combination of legitimate high-end athleticism and change in pace and craft as a finisher and footwork in the lane at this great size as a guard that, like, when you can consistently get to the rim over and over and over, and you're an elite finisher there, and you're also an excellent passer when you collapse the defense and draw help, that gives you the best possible skill set to immediately translate. He's not relying on some of like the volatile perimeter shot making, where we are still going to have to see how good he is there, because that's going to determine what the real ceiling is for Dylan Harper. But I just think he has all-star written all over him. I think there are certain draft classes in which he would have gone number 1 overall. I think there's a very, very real possibility, if not a probability, that he ends up being the best offensive player in this class. And he's not going to have the same abundance of opportunity that like a VJ does, because obviously De'Aaron Fox is coming back for this San Antonio team, and Castle has been really good, so Harper's coming off the bench. But I do think on a per-minute basis, he is going to be so effective for them. And long-term, there's just no question to me that, like, he is the perfect building block alongside Wemby. I think those guys are going to be the best duo in the NBA someday. I say that even being as high on the Shea-Chet duo as I am. There's a Victor Wembanyama factor here that just overwhelms almost everything, especially when I do think that Dylan Harper is going to be a star in this league. He's going to be better than De'Aaron Fox. He's ultimately going to be a better complement, in my opinion, as that truly elite downhill rim pressuring guard, and a significantly better passer than Fox, and a guy who has the potential to be a better defender as the sort of big, good athlete that he is. San Antonio has just been incredible in every way early this year, and I have another take about a teammate of Dylan Harper's that I am going to get to next, but he's so damn good. Flagg has been the most interesting in the sense that it's been the most mixed experience. I would say that Cooper Flagg has had 2 very good games, and I would say that Cooper Flagg has had 2 very bad games. The debut was rough. We talked about that. Him struggling with the Stephon Castle matchup and not being comfortable enough handling and just being overtasked as a ball handler in this really tough offensive situation. Then the next 2 games, I thought he played really well. And specifically, I thought he made a couple adjustments that I really liked. First of all, he was being physical as hell on his drives. And I love that because when you are being guarded by true point guards, if it's Emmanuel Quickley, if it's Bub Carrington, you just can't let the opposing team get away with that. And that's where this super big jumbo-sized Flagg at point guard lineup, as much as I think it's wonky and ultimately not good for Dallas offensively right now, as weird as it is, you can put opposing teams in a bind of like, all right, if Flagg is acting as the point guard, we can't guard him with our conventional point guard because he can just be too big, too strong. And I would like to see them lean even more into getting him some touches inside of 15 feet if it's coming off of off-ball screens, if it's more post-up touches. I think that that will continue to put him in a better position to succeed when he's in those kind of matchups. But he was just kind of discarding some of those guys and getting more paint touches and making some really nice passes. And then the other big adjustment is just getting out and playing with pace. 18 transition points across those 2 games. He had 0 in his debut. He had 0 in game 4 of the year when he really, really struggled against OKC.
That's going to be his bread and butter this year.
100%. 100%. Whenever you have a 6'9" great athlete who can handle reasonably well, like that guy is going to be at his best in the full court. And he's a really good transition passer too. Just as much as he can get out and run, he should, because that's going to make his life easier on offense. In the half court, there's going to be struggles for him when he's asked to be the primary ball handler. And the OKC game was really rough. You look at the bottom line numbers and it's like, yeah, no shit. 2 points, 2 rebounds, no assists, 1 of 10 from the field. I will say, I thought he actually made a number of pretty good passes in the game, like some nice swing passes, a couple nice drive and kicks, and guys just missed. But his impact on the game really was minimal. And even though I liked a number of the shots that he was getting to, I thought he just missed a couple good looks from 3, got a couple decent looks at the rim, missed an open mid-range pull-up. The reality is that Flagg is never going to force himself on the game. He's just not that kind of player offensively. And I do mostly like that from him because I think the reason that we are so high on Flagg long-term is because he has the ability to do everything at a high level. And he's such a high IQ, high field player that like he's going to ultimately blend this on-ball and off-ball scoring and playmaking and do so efficiently in a way that's really conducive to winning and amplifies the guys around him and is just super complimentary. That's the beauty of his skill set. Right now, though, this Dallas team just needs more from him. They just need him to be able to assert himself more. They need him to be able to create more dribble penetration and knock down some of these pull-up jumpers against an OKC defense that is so stifling. He's not capable of doing that. So it just leads to this kind of disjointed, confused offense, and Flagg's not totally certain of his role or comfortable in it. And late in this game, the entire fourth quarter run, when Dallas stormed back into this game, it came with Cooper Flagg on the bench. And not just that, it came with 2 ball handling guards on the floor. It was D'Angelo Russell and Jaden Hardy who were finally actually able to generate some dribble penetration and make some plays for teammates. And I understand D'Lo shot 3 of 14, and he took some bad shots in this game. He was still a positive because they so desperately needed his offensive skill set in those 10 assists and the ability to actually get into the teeth of the defense at all and run a fluid pick and roll. Like, that really mattered for this team. So we saw them go to a new starting lineup where it wasn't Flagg and double bigs. They started Max Christie instead, and I prefer that look just because I think the spacing, the offensive skill limitations, they're too problematic when you're going Flagg at point, no real ball handling guard, and 2 centers. But it still certainly does not solve the issues here. So I don't know if we're going to see D'Lo starting soon. I understand all the frustrations. I also wonder if the Mavs are specifically opposed to it because they see the irony of it all, of like, we went all in on Anthony Davis because we said defense wins championships, and now we are so starved for offense that we're going to start D'Angelo Russell.
I mean, I think D'Lo just gives you the better chance to win basketball games. That should be the only thing that matters.
Well, is that the only thing that matters to Nico Harrison and the Dallas Mavericks, Logan? Are they the trustworthy, logical
I'm not going to try
franchise?
to get in that guy's sick and twisted head.
You shouldn't. You shouldn't. You're a pretty sick puppy, Logan, but he takes it to another level. So the reality is, when we have seen Flagg going up against elite perimeter defenders or elite perimeter defenses, really good athletes who can bother his handle, he had no turnovers against OKC, which is good. But again, he wasn't able to consistently assert himself in the game. There's going to be struggles and there's going to be growing pains. And whether or not it's D'Lo literally starting, or if it's just D'Lo playing more alongside Flagg, if it's just them putting more shooting into these lineups, like clearly they need to alleviate some of the pressure on him. But also, it's not surprising to me that it's been up and down early in the year. Like, I wish it had been a little better. I probably expected it to be a little better. But we talked over and over again about how the biggest concern for Flagg at this point in his career is his handle, his ability to be certainly a primary ball handler for you. Like, it's just an insane amount on his plate. And I continue to believe that as bad as the Mavs offense is now, they are dead last in offensive rating. Kyrie Irving is one of the most important players in the NBA this year to his team because of how desperately and specifically they need his skill set. And once he comes back, presuming he looks like himself, I do think a lot more pieces fall into place. But the Mavs offense sucks right now. And there are going to be some really good nights for Flagg. I think he's going to be a great player. None of that has changed. None of my long-term outlook with him has changed at all. But there's definitely going to be some bumps and bruises in the learning process. Do you want me to talk about Victor Wembanyama, Logan, or is there anything else you want to say about these rookies? I would love to.
That would be music to my ears.
All right, well, let's just get to it because everything else is just secondary in my mind right now. I can't stop thinking about Wemby, Logan. And if you've seen all the tweets and all the videos that I've already made, you probably know that. But this feels like one of the craziest NBA moments of my lifetime, just like one of the most seismic shifts in basketball. Victor Wembanyama, 21 years old in year 3, has been the best player in the NBA this season. He's averaging 31, 14, and 3 on 68% true shooting with 1.5 steals and 4.8 blocks per game. And he's more than halved his turnovers. Everything we saw in the debut, which was one of the most spectacular performances I've seen in my lifetime, was real. He has just totally evolved as an offensive player, and he feels straight up unstoppable right now. But the transformation from last year really is so remarkable, Logan. The combination of skill and physical development with the shift in mentality he is undergoing. First of all, one of the most dramatic shifts in shot diet that you will ever see. Last year, what was the talking point with Wemby? He's taking 9 threes a game. And it was really impressive that he could make more than 35% of those. And that was absolutely a weapon for him. But you also felt that there was more potential for him to become a truly dominant inside the arc player, and that's where his focus should be placed more so now. Well, he has done that and some, dude. Let me just read you off all these numbers. Last year, Wemby's three-point rate was .47. Almost half of his shots were coming from beyond the arc. Now it's .15. It's about 1 in 7 shots are coming from beyond the arc. His free throw rate was .22. His free throw rate this year is .55. He is getting to the free throw line at a ridiculous rate, more than doubling his free throw rate from last year. The average distance of a Wemby field goal attempt last year was 17 feet. This year, it's 9.4 feet. He's almost halved it. He's getting twice as close to the basket on average. Paint field goals made per game. He's gone from 4.5 last year to 8 this year. He's almost doubling his 2-point production overall and his paint production and his restricted area production. He is just on a completely different level as an inside the arc scorer, and I love it because that is where Wemby feels his most dominant, and that is where his production can be the most consistent. The 3-point shooting is a huge weapon, and he will always use that, but there is more variance there. And even though he's a really good three-point shooter, he doesn't leave you feeling as helpless out there as he does when he's operating inside of 15 feet and he can get to whatever he wants out of isolation, out of the post, as a driver, not even accounting for the fact that now we're seeing him do more just simple rim finishing stuff around the basket. And like more so than ever, we're getting the experience of, hey, just throw it up anywhere in the general vicinity of Victor Wembanyama, and he has the craziest catch radius and finishing ability around the rim that we've ever seen in that context. That has been so impressive, but it is specifically the self-creation where he's just on a different planet, dude. More numbers. Last year, Wemby averaged 5.1 self-created points per game. That is pick and roll as the ball handler, plus isolation, plus post up. And he averaged 0.82 points per possession across those play types. That's really mediocre volume and below average efficiency. This year, Wemby is averaging 13.5 self-created points per game on 1.35 points per possession. We understand it's been 4 games. That would make him like the best self-creator in basketball. That volume is like Shea level, and that efficiency is literally impossible. He won't keep that up, but he's been the best self-creator in basketball so far this year as this 7'4" center who's also the best defensive player in basketball. As a driver, he has improved so much. Last year, he was averaging 3 points per game off drives and 0.82 points per drive. Again, unremarkable production, not good efficiency as a driver. He had some issues there, handling in traffic, finishing through physicality and contact, and he just wasn't doing it nearly as much. This year, he's averaging 8.5 points per game off drives and 1.3 points per drive. So again, now just he's blossomed into, up to this point, one of the absolute best drivers in basketball, where previously that was something of a limitation for him. It's just absurd. The improvement as a ball handler is so dramatic, and it's enabling all this stuff, his improved driving and self-creation, but also, as he's doing more of that than ever before, the turnovers have gone way down to an extent that literally should not be possible for a 7'4" guy. It shouldn't be possible at this height to handle the ball as functionally and as fluidly and as consistently as Wemby is. And because of that, even though he's always had this like standout ball handling skill for being 7'4", in his first 2 years, he consistently had turnover issues. As a rookie, I mean, he was a super high turnover player. Through his first 2 seasons, though, he had 1 total game with 0 turnovers. He had back-to-back games with 0 turnovers to start this season, Logan. So it's just like every bit of massive, unthinkable potential that Wemby has had, he's tapping into right now. And you know that there's even more that he can do, but he is already at this age playing like the best player in the world with more potential to grow than any player who has ever been that good at that age has possibly had. Like, everything that we are seeing from him right now in terms of the added strength, in terms of the mastery as an isolation scorer, where the ball handling, the footwork, the balance, the shot making, it's just all coming together at an elite level. Again, specifically the coordination and fluidity and the ability to finish through contact on these drives is so insane. And like, he's blowing past guards now, dude. He's got this legitimately nasty hesitation dribble. And he's got this incredibly lethal pump fake that he can deploy whenever he wants because he's such a lethal shooter. There was a possession in the Raptors game where they switched the pick and roll, so IQ was guarding him quickly, and he just got right past him. And then he made a beautiful dump-off pass. Like, I just don't know what anybody does with Victor Wembanyama at this point. He is clearly too skilled and too quick and too good with the ball to be guarded by centers. I think we're going to see the teams that can just throw a shit ton of wings at him and swarm him like crazy soon. And then you just have the overwhelming size and shot making of it all. And as he sees an insane amount of double teams, that's when we're going to see the passing development really kick up with him. Even though he already makes good reads and is a good passer, that's when he could become a guy who's averaging 6 assists a game, whatever. It's unbelievable. The player that we are seeing right now is a basketball god. And when I think about what the reasonable trajectory for Victor Wembanyama is from this point forward, I just think it's the best basketball player ever and possibly the best athlete ever. We have never seen somebody so physically gifted as him, and he consistently shows an ability to make the most of those gifts and improve so rapidly that I wonder if the only reason that people pause to say that or go like, whoa, slow down if you do say that, is just because
just the injury history of like big men.
Well, that's possible, but I was going to say even more than that you just can't fathom that somebody could be that great because nobody that great has ever existed before, right? Michael Jordan is so mind-blowing to you if you watch him in his time. LeBron James is so mind-blowing to you if you watch him in his time. You can't imagine somebody being way better relative to those peers than those guys. I believe Victor Wembanyama legitimately makes that possible. To have the greatest physical gifts in the history of the sport and pair it with this level of skill refinement at this age, like, there's literally no limit to what he can do, Logan. And we already talked about this, but when you said he could average 35, 10, and 7, I said, hey, that's a bit much. You said this last year when my expectations for Wemby were just that he was going to be on the Mount Rushmore. And now I'm like, Logan, you cooked, and my expectations for Wemby as a Mount Rushmore guy, that was too low. Now my expectation is that he is going to be the greatest player in the history of the game. And if you think that's crazy, let's come back in 15 years and see how it aged.
Well, I mean, I think it's the framing. You're talking about, it's such a dramatic transformation from one season to the next. I don't blame you for the reason I put out those gaudy numbers for Wemby was because I literally have never seen anyone like him.
Yeah.
This skilled, this big. But I understand why you wouldn't have the force. It is such a dramatic difference in how he was playing from last year to next. The one thing I wanted to add, too, is the fact that he became such a good high-volume three-point shooter last season, it really makes Wemby a terrifying proposition. We're talking about the playoffs because now he is consistently raising his scoring floor with how often he's able to get downhill.
Yeah.
But because of the glimpses that we saw from him on the perimeter last season, he has an incredibly high scoring ceiling where, it's just unthinkable, what he could do in a playoff series, or deficits are always going to feel within reach with him.
Yeah.
You're talking about how teams are going to defend him. And I think that is the most interesting aspect of Wemby moving forward. What defenses do to counter him schematically. I think the team that has defended him the best this season was the Pelicans, actually. And I think what they did with their wings is what I would continue to employ against Wemby moving forward. That being said, I think you need a very specific personnel to employ this strategy. I think you need a very strong, physical, sturdy, athletic wing. New Orleans deliberately tried to keep him out of the paint. They tried to get up in his dribble, in his body, and play super physically. And I thought in that game, Wemby settled for a lot more jumpers, and I think that should be the point of emphasis. And I want to be clear about something. Wemby still got his. In that game, he still gave him 29 points, 11 boards on 13 of 23 shooting, and he still had 9 blocks in that game too. Wemby has reached this Jokic level of he is going to get his. You're not ever going to be able to stop him, but you can try to slow him down, and I think that is the strategy that I would go with Wemby. Those strong physical wings, play him physically, try to get up in his dribble, and just try to keep him out of the paint at all costs. And I think, like you mentioned earlier in your spiel, I think we are going to see teams start throwing more doubles at him and just outright trapping and saying, all right, we just got to get the ball out of Wemby's hands. But that's what's the most interesting aspect of the Spurs and Wemby moving forward is just what teams try to do schematically to slow him down.
Well, when you talk about Jokic level, offensively, Wemby is certainly not there. It's still not close.
I just mean he's unstoppable. You're not going to negate his impact. You're never going to X this guy out of a matchup.
Especially because even if you are able to be super physical with him, bother his handle if that's really possible at this point, whatever, make life harder on him as a self-creator, he should have an automatic 15 points baked into every game just off of catch and shoot threes, transition trailer threes, and then all of the stuff that he gets around the rim as a roller and in the dunker spot and getting to the free throw line. It's this unbelievable blend of all-time great play finishing with now legitimately elite self-creation. And that was the biggest question with Wemby last year. That's why with Wemby last year, I was saying, yeah, absolutely. He's already at a first-team All-NBA level in the regular season, but I'm not as confident in his playoff offense as I am with like some of these other flat-out superstar top 10 guys, because we did see certain defenses do exactly what you're laying out pretty much. If it was the Rockets, if it was the Thunder, these super athletic, rangy switching defenses that could put wings on him, who could bother him some physically, get up in his airspace, test his handle, and then they could have the actual center roaming off behind consistently as the backline helper, being disruptive on Wemby drives and whatnot. It's like, that was a formula that was able to make Wemby struggle more against really good defenses. And his numbers did take a significant dive against really good, like top 10 kind of defenses last year. And now I think about his ability to just destroy a switching defense with how ridiculously good his isolation game is, and his driving is, and his comfort working out of the post is, and his shot making is. And I'm just like, I think it's going to have to be outright doubling. I think it is going to have to be swarm, and it's just going to make Wemby better in the big picture, because he so clearly has the potential to be an elite passing big. Like, it's just crazy, dude. And by the way, when I was talking about the expectations, I think I said 35-10-7. Realistically, it would be more like 35-14-7, because he's one of the best rebounders that we've ever seen, because he just so happens to be 7'4" with an 8-foot wingspan. And now you even get more value out of him on the glass when he's living around the paint more like this. There's more offensive rebounding opportunities. It's just unfathomable. Clearly, the blueprint has always been there for him to be a great offensive player and the best defender of the modern era. But now we're at a point where I'm like expecting him to be the best defender of the modern era and one of the greatest offensive players ever. And very likely, at some point, simultaneously, the best offensive player in basketball and the best defensive player in basketball by far. Like, I'm just completely blown away. I have never in my life, Logan, had higher expectations for an athlete than Victor Wembanyama. It's not even close. It's not even close, because as much as I love the history stuff, I wasn't giving out draft takes in 2003, okay? I wasn't there for LeBron's draft. And so obviously Wemby was by far the greatest prospect since LeBron. But he just keeps pushing my expectations higher and higher and higher. I come in thinking, oh yeah, saying as a draft prospect, Victor Wembanyama is probably going to be a top 15 player ever, and he'll be the best player in the world someday. That's like, whoa. That is insanely high expectations. That is expectations that in the history of this sport have probably only ever been put on Wilt, Kareem, LeBron, and Wemby. And then in year two, it's like, yeah, I think he's going to be on Mount Rushmore with only Kareem, LeBron, Jordan. And now this is where we are in year three, where I legitimately think the most rational outcome is that he is going to be the best player ever. I apologize if you think this is excessive glaze, but I swear to God, I am just speaking from the heart, man. I've watched every second of Wemby basketball this year. It is a fucking spiritual experience. After the debut, I just kind of sat and stared into the distance for 20 minutes, and that was when I was truly taken to another level of being a true believer, and he's just continued to affirm it ever since. So, the Spurs, man, 4-0. Like, they're probably going to win 50-plus games this year because Victor Wembanyama. And also, I do like athletically what they have around him. And Castle's been really good.
I don't know if that's a take. I would actually move Castle. I think Castle has looked really good, but I don't think they need him.
Interesting.
I think he's got some turnover issues that I wish he could clean up. Did you see that one game against New Orleans, dude? That was weird.
Yeah.
That was really it was like he was allergic to the basketball. I don't know, man. It was really strange.
That was very weird. And I mean, the turnover stuff with him has been really bad. He's averaging 6 turnovers a game. He's had 5 or more in every game. So that is significant. And like, this is where I've never been the highest on Castle as a lead ball handler. Turnover stuff, like, is he good enough as a ball handler? Is he good enough as a shot maker from floater range?
There's just some inefficiencies there. Like, and I think he's a very talented basketball player, but I just think because of how great Wemby is as a defensive player and because of the aggregate athleticism this team already has, I wonder if it would be more worthwhile to swap him for a more win-now, offensively slanted kind of player.
Here's my vision with Castle in San Antonio. It's all contingent upon his ability as a catch and shoot guy. Like, if he can become a 35% catch and shooter from deep with decent volume, then I think he is an awesome fit here alongside Harper, because Castle does winning stuff out there, and his ability to like kind of bludgeon you athletically. I mean, if it's in transition, if it's defensively, if it's being a really good rebounding guard, like, he is a really good athlete who really knows how to use it in a winning way. And then he's also got good passing feel and good cutting feel. And there's just so much that I like there as the complementary kind of like supercharged, really athletic role player who could be alongside your amazing offensive guard in Dylan Harper. And then they're this super big, super athletic, great backcourt alongside Wemby. And I just think the fit there is better than any potential fit with Fox and Harper long term, because Castle does more of like the complementary stuff, whereas both Fox and Harper are going to be looking at this as like, I'm the lead star offensive guard, and I just think Harper is going to be better in that mold. But if Castle doesn't ever figure out the shot, then I don't think that he really works alongside another like downhill guard like Harper, who absolutely should be more of the priority long term, because he's just a way better offensive player and is going to be a way better offensive player. But I do like Castle. I've been impressed by him this year. And if I had to choose which of the three guards is lowest on the totem pole, it's De'Aaron Fox for me.
I need to see what Fox and Wemby look like together before I make that call. I still really like Fox, man.
That's fair. For me, it has more to do with the fact that I'm just so high on Dylan Harper.
Oh. Well, I agree with you. I think Dylan Harper should be priority number one out of that room. We've been aligned on that for
100%.
Since the draft.
It's a no-brainer, dude. The fact that people were even saying, like, ooh, why would they take Harper? They already have Castle. Now, to be fair, VJ Edgecombe has been a monster.
Yeah, true.
He's been incredible. But I was just like, Harper is so good. He is going to, I promise, and rearrange your thoughts and priorities here, because when you see him out there with Wemby, like, that is everything for your franchise, and that's going to be a duo that's going to win championships.
And he's got upside as a really good point of attack defender too, which I think you've already seen glimpses of. Yeah, I'm super high on him. We've been speaking really positively and glowingly about a number one overall pick. I am now going to hit the Uno reverse card and speak a little negatively about a former number one overall pick. I think I'm just about ready to put Paolo Banchero on fraud watch, Carson.
Wow.
We don't have a very large sample size. Again, we are very early on into the 2026 NBA season, but I have been exceptionally disappointed with the play of Paolo Banchero. He's giving you 23, 8, and 2 on 39% from the field, 18% from deep, with 2.5 turnovers per game. And I do want to give him a little bit of props. Like, he had 2 decent games against Miami and Chicago, but like, I don't want to have the kid gloves on with Paolo still. Like, he's in what? This is year 3 for Paolo? This is year 4? I mean, this is really when I would have expected Paolo to really start figuring stuff out. And some of the drawbacks and some of the offensive issues that we've seen with Paolo are just kind of rearing their ugly head, and he's not figuring it out. His shot selection is still incredibly confounding to me.
Yeah.
The game that I really want to zero in on is this Atlanta Hawks game. 11 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 4 of 15 from the field, 0 of 5 from deep, with 3 turnovers. This was something that has been true in Paolo's first 3 years on this team, but it is still true. On the whole on this year, the Magic's offense are 15 points better without Paolo on the floor. Again, very small sample size, but it still is true with this group. And some of the stuff that you get from him in this game and other games this year, the shot selection. One, at the end of this game, takes a fading right wing 3 with 10 seconds on the clock.
Yeah.
No shot clock to take the lead. Makes no sense. It was like that Draymond shot from a couple of years ago where he hucks up a damn near half-court 3.
Valentine!
It just made no sense. I don't know if he didn't know the time on the clock. That's what I reach as a conclusion. I don't know if he thought the shot clock was winding down. I mean, that is just a horrible moment of awareness and just in general, just a horrible shot. Earlier in that sequence, 45 seconds earlier, he misses a wide open corner three that would have given them the lead. So that's just bad touch. But it's not just like a late game brain fart moment, right? Everybody's had one of those in their career. It is the consistent shot selection in the half court. Earlier in this game, he has got a Luke Kennard switch on him at the free throw line, and he settles for a pull-up jumper. Against Miami, there is another possession exactly like that. He gets Davion Mitchell switched onto him on the left block and settles for a fading midi. And it's like, hey, man, I respect Davion Mitchell. He's a damn good guard defender, but he's 6 feet tall. Paolo Banchero has 50 pounds and 10 inches on this guy. Back your ass up into him and put him in the basket. And so, as I watch Paolo throughout these games, there are 4 things that really irritate me about him offensively. It is this incredibly bad shot selection if he is not mismatch attacking or if he is settling for jump shots. He has got these black hole ball stopping tendencies that make him incredibly limited as a playmaker. When I watch this Magic offense without him on the floor, there is a free-flowing ball. There is this unselfishness where the ball is moving around and guys are finding open players and attacking closeouts and the ball doesn't stop. And there is just this seamless ease of the offense when he's not out there. The touch. I thought eventually Paolo was going to be a really good jump shooter, and he just isn't. He lacks good touch from the mid-range and from three-point land, and I get it. We've seen an uptick in Paolo's production as a pull-up jump shooter in 2 playoff runs, and I have beat that drum as something that could, as a breadcrumb trail that would maybe lead to him becoming a better jump shooter. That has yet to get realized. And then the turnovers. Like, Paolo has all the tools. I think he has all of it. But it is just mental, man. And I'm not going to bail him out with the situation shit.
No.
Because for 3 years now, I've been saying, it's a bad offensive situation. There's not a ton of talent around here. This is a team that has put all their chips in the middle of the table and went and gave up 4 first-round picks to go and acquire Desmond Bane. More importantly, though, this offense is good without him. Like, it is a brain teaser, man. I can't figure Paolo out. I loved him as a prospect. He is so far behind my expectations of where he would be at year 4 in his career. And again, it's not talent. It is not the physical abilities. It is all the mental decision-making components of it. And I am just slowly moving more and more towards the take of he doesn't have it. And so my take right now is he's officially on fraud watch to me, man, as a superstar and as an impactful winning basketball player. Like, again, these are things, Carson, that you and I have talked repeatedly over the past few years with Paolo in Orlando. Yeah. But this is your 4, man, and I am really disappointed with how these things have not been ironed out.
And you're not saying anything new about Paolo when it comes to the criticisms. What's changing is that the excuses are running out. We've talked about age and just him needing to mature and become a better decision maker and how sometimes you have these shot selection issues with young players. Well, now we're in year 4, and so it has to start getting better fast, really fast. And we have talked about the really bad spacing and lack of creation alongside him being a contributing factor to his really bad shot selection. That situation is now better. And even acknowledging that those were excuses that we gave to some extent over the first 3 years of his career, never did I bail out Paolo for those things, and never was I not concerned about them. And specifically last year, I said, even before they made the Desmond Bane trade, actually, I said, next year is going to be a huge prove-it year for Paolo, where he has to start turning ability into actual winning basketball. Efficient, smart, offensive basketball where he actually maximizes his talent in terms of leading to good team offense. As shitty as the supporting cast around him and Franz was last year, you do not rank 27th in offensive rating if you have an actually elite offensive player on your basketball team. Paolo just has never been that in his career. The efficiency has been too bad. The shot selection has been the worst in basketball. We are talking about a guy who is a 6'10", 250 battering ram who has like the highest foul rate on drives in basketball, and yet who wants to live like he's old Carmelo Anthony, like 2016 Carmelo Anthony. Like, I am going to live off of this mid-range heavy shot diet. I've talked about these stats so much, but almost half of all of his shots last year were 2-pointers outside the restricted area.
And
he shot 40% on those shots.
And not only are they bad shots, just fundamentally in terms of efficiency, they're tough shots. And Paolo sometimes makes them harder on himself. And it's like, I have this dilemma when I play pickup basketball, right? There's just this, it's tough. Oh, that shot's so tough. And it's like, yeah, man, it can be aesthetically pleasing, but it's like, here's a little example. I'm talking about these switches on Kennard and Davion Mitchell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say, for example, Paolo's still so damn tall. If he hit an old-school Melo move, a jab step into a rising face-up jump shot over these guys, that is even a better shot than a turnaround one-legged fade that you're shooting. We're like, again, these are bad shots in a vacuum, but Paolo even makes them tougher and worse shots.
Yeah, which is true. That being said, the obvious best outcome here is spin off or back down or put your shoulder into him, go through him. You're going to get fouled or you're going to get very close to the basket. So that's why I've never been able to say, like, these are definitively the flaws that are going to hold Paolo back, because he still is such a physical freak.
What you're going to add into ripple effects is wins for your team. Because the Magic are such a jumbo-sized, big-ass team, even if Paolo doesn't get fouled, you have a really high chance of getting that offensive rebound and resetting, or like you said, just getting fouled, man. I'm just so disappointed, man. I was so high. Paolo was one of these guys where I almost felt like he was a can't-miss kind of prospect.
Another frustrating thing is, like, Orlando is putting some of the pieces in place offensively. Like, I think that Desmond Bane is not just a very good addition. I think he's actually been good for them. He hasn't shot the ball as well from deep as he will big picture, but I think adding more ball handling, playmaking, IQ, floor spacing, like, he's been a positive addition. Also, this is a team that is trying to play with a lot more pace now. That was another thing that exacerbated all their offensive issues last year, is they sucked in the half court and they only played in the half court. Like, they played at this excruciatingly slow pace, and Paolo is a guy who should be at his best in transition. I mean, just being such an athletic freak as he is, and I still don't know that he has bought in enough to that whole idea of, yes, we are going to play with pace, and that's going to be a big part of our identity. I think the Philly game was the best that he's looked on that front. That's the most that he's gotten out and pushed in transition. And that was a better game overall because, I mean, the Atlanta game was atrocious. The Chicago game was bad again. We'll see. He just has to figure out this stuff, not just on the margins, like pretty much at the core of how he can channel his actual basketball ability, because the results, again, those have stayed the same. But we're getting to the point now where you can't just say, oh, look at the talent, and you have to actually turn it into something legitimately good when you're on a team that is expecting to win 50-something games and maybe figure in to a weakened Eastern Conference. And you mentioned the, like, crazy on-off stuff. That's been one of the most damning things for Paolo over the years, is that when Franz is on the floor without him, this is going back to 2024, so 2 years and change now. Franz plays without Paolo, they're a plus 11 net team. Paolo plays without Franz, they're a minus 6 net team. Like, Paolo has never been a top 25 player. He's never been a top 30 player. People want to make him that, and he can be that, and he can be more than that, but he hasn't been that, and he's still not that right now, and it is really frustrating.
This season, just offensively, it's 11 points with the Franz Paolo connection.
Yeah.
Again, small sample size.
Such a small sample size. Such a small sample size, but when you have a 17-point overall on-off swing across more than 2 years, when your supposed best player plays without your second best player compared to vice versa, and I say second best player in quotes because I think that Franz is their best player right now.
Mm-hmm. Paolo is one of my least favorite players to watch. He angers me as a basketball fan with some of the shot selection stuff. Like he is an infuriating watch.
And the passing flashes were there as a rookie and a sophomore, and you see a 6'10 guy who can make some of the passes that he makes, but the consistency has to be so much better as a passer, the processing, the decision-making, all of this stuff. And at the end of the day, the shot diet just has to get way better, and it can. And this is why, as big as every year and every game feels, it's like we're talking about Paolo getting older, and this is still year 4 and he's turning 23. That's not an excuse, but what I'm saying is he is still not a finished product. There is still hope. But the hope just diminishes the longer it takes for you to figure this stuff out. And when you're not even seeing progress, it's not like we're seeing a trend in the right direction. We are seeing the exact same problems to the exact same extent. So maybe all the noise gets to him, and maybe at some point he figures out this change that he has to make. And that could be this year. That's why, again, I still can't write Paolo off. But right now, yeah, he's been disappointing. The Magic have been disappointing. They're still 25th in offensive rating. They're 1-3. They just haven't looked good at all.
Agreed. I don't have anything else on Paolo. Real quick, though, I do want to touch on the Bane edition. I do love Bane for Orlando, and not just in some of the areas that we've talked about, the supplemental playmaking and the off-ball shooting. I think that's important. I think the biggest reason why I like Bane here is just he actually brings on-the-dribble shot making. Bane can take a possession, isolate, get to a step back or a pull-up, and actually knock it down. I don't know. I don't feel confidently really about anybody else creating. I mean, Franz a little bit, but Bane is on a different level as a self-created shot maker to these guys.
But this is why I just kind of kept getting lower on the Magic throughout the offseason. As much as I like the Bane edition, I'm just like, it banks so much on Paolo and Franz also, because Franz still has this major three-point shooting issue, but those guys getting significantly better as actual leading offensive players when they still had such clear, significant flaws last year, talented as they both are, so flawed, and it hasn't been an encouraging start to the year on that front. In their debut, we saw some stuff that I liked from Orlando that I mentioned. For example, 4 of the first 5 possessions of that game, they had Paolo set a ball screen, mostly for Desmond Bane, and they scored on 3 of those 4 possessions, and they pretty much got all good shots. And he's always had this potential as a roll man, barreling downhill, and as a short roll playmaker, and they abandoned it from that point forward, and they've pretty much abandoned it this season from that point forward. I mean, we have seen way less of Paolo as a screener. In fact, Paolo has not made a basket as the roll man yet this year. So it's this big wing stuff, man. You just got to be a better shot maker to do that like he wants to do it.
It's sad, man. I feel like we've really seen one game. And maybe I haven't watched every game of Paolo's career, but it feels like we've seen one game where it was oh yeah, man, Paolo's going to put it together, that Pacers game.
No, it's more than that. I mean, last year to start the season, he had a great game against the Heat. The Pacers game was the best. And even last year, the 5 games that he played before he hurt his oblique, there were a couple great ones and there were a couple bad ones with the same Paolo. But at least last year, he started with more of a bully ball mentality. And that just hasn't happened this year. He's still getting the free throw line a shit ton because, like I said, when he commits to getting downhill, he draws more fouls than any other player in basketball.
That should be a superpower, man.
Paolo should have a 12 free throw attempt per game season. He should be getting up into those sort of crazy all-time numbers, and we'll see if he ever does put it together. But I'll tell you who is putting it together, Logan, and who had already put it together more. The guy from the 2022 draft class who I was always highest on, and that is Chet Holmgren. And Chet Holmgren is putting it together for an Oklahoma City Thunder team that I think is going to be even better than last year when they won 68 games and has the second best net rating in NBA history and won the title. And the reason for that is 2 of the most important swing factors for their season are off to a phenomenal start. That is the continued offensive development of Chet Holmgren, and that is the blossoming of a player who can be a legitimate third ball handler and creator like Ajay Mitchell. Both of those factors are off to such a great start this year. But starting with Chet, there's a very real chance that we get an all-NBA season out of him this year. It's the best he's ever looked. It's even better than his 9-game start last year when I thought he was playing at like a top 20 kind of level before he broke his pelvis. He was amazing to start last year too, but his offensive game has just been fantastic so far. He's giving you 23, 10, and 2 on 73% true shooting, Logan. And it's not just that the production and the efficiency is so great. We are seeing specific skill set stuff that I love. Like the first standout factor is that he's shooting 42% from deep on 6 attempts a game. It's the best that he's ever shot the basketball. Small sample size with all of this, but you're taking shots and you're making shots that he just wasn't last year. Like he is raining threes against contests. He is undeterred by these closeouts. And that wasn't the case last year. Like the release looks a little quicker to me, and that makes a big difference. We're also seeing him hit some of these threes off the dribble. I mean, a couple of step back threes. That's really nice. But overall, it's the ability to shoot threes at this volume, which we've never seen from Chet before, with this efficiency against contests. Like it just looks so much better than it did in the playoffs last year to start with when it was an issue. But more so, it just looks the best that it ever has. And Chet has always clearly had legitimately elite shooting big man potential since he was a prospect. That's been something that I expected him to put together. We're seeing that now. Like that is what you're getting from Chet early on this year at a level that we haven't seen before. But just as impressive as that 3-point shooting has been his aggression downhill. Chet's taking 7 free throws a game right now. A big part of that is that he is attacking decisively. He is, first of all, leveraging the threat of his 3-point shot. He's dusting people off closeouts right now, hitting them with the show and go, and then putting together some really beautifully fluid drives. And he is so uniquely coordinated and quick and graceful for being a 7-footer. He's converting that now into a really nice driving game to start the year. And he's been aggressive handling in transition, which I always love, which I always talk about Chet wanting him to push pace because he's just so fast and so skilled for being his size, and it's easy to take advantage of that in the full court in transition. But also, like everything, dude, when he rolls, when he cuts, he's looking to punish the rim. That's always my favorite version of Chet. Again, you're either going to get a dunk or you're going to get fouled the vast majority of the time when you go up with that mentality. He's been active on the offensive glass, and even some of like the nuanced intermediate stuff. He's been using little touch shots effectively off of cuts, or we saw the first game of the year when he hit that little jumper from the nail to beat the zone look. And his isolation game has looked better too. Like he's comfortably getting to these little short turnarounds when he has an opportunity. His post footwork looks a little better. That's been an area where I've always wanted Chet to develop, just the post game overall. He obviously doesn't have the strength, but even the finesse, the skill aspect, like his post bag has never really been deep. It looks like it's getting a little deeper now. If it is getting that turnaround, or he had a really nice step through yesterday against the Mavs, just feels like he's putting it all together. And the skill is all there. The mentality is there right now as well. This is a guy who's always had ridiculous potential, a guy who I have always felt should be a top 10 player in this league. And year 3 is off to a phenomenal start on that front, because obviously we talk about all the offensive stuff. This is all within the context of the fact that Chet is a top 2 defender on the planet right now, in my opinion. So when you get this version of him offensively, this versatile, this efficient, this confident, this aggressive, this dude with J-Dub back in the lineup at some point, like that makes OKC feel pretty much unbeatable. We talked about those two and their performance being like really what swings the pendulum between OKC kind of scraping by in the playoffs or OKC just obliterating people. And I think we're going to see a version of Chet this year that's better than anything that we've seen before. And I think that we're already seeing it. And there's been a consistency so far that leads me to believe that he's going to keep it up. But then the thing that makes them feel even more unbeatable is that Ajay Mitchell has addressed probably the biggest need on this roster, understanding this is not a basketball team that needs much, but we've talked about the value of a third ball handler who can take some of that overwhelming pressure and burden as ball handlers and creators that rests on Shea and J-Dub. And Ajay Mitchell hasn't just been the guy who addresses that need. He's been the best bench creator in basketball so far. He's averaging 18, 5, and 4 on 57% true shooting. And the consistency with him has been absurd. It's not like, one explosion where he gives you 30 and then the next game he gives you 4. It's not up and down. It's every single game. He has been a steadying presence. He has been a positive playmaker. He has been giving you 15 to 20 points per game, and I'm just fully bought in on his development too. Like, maybe I buried the lead a little bit when we did our preseason takeaways, and I framed it as it's not such a big deal that Nikola Topic is getting his testicles operated on. Maybe that stole the headlines, but the point that I was making there is it's not such a big deal because I think AJ Mitchell is going to be good, and I think he's actually going to be better fit for that role this year than Topic. Now, I did not think AJ Mitchell was going to do this. He's been legitimately phenomenal, but I do think it is totally sustainable. Like, he just has so many offensive traits that I really like. He's got elite craft as a driver. He is so good at finding angles. He's got great change in pace. He always plays under control. He's never sped up, and he's got good strength and good balance, so physicality doesn't throw him off. And then he's got like this crazy touch on runners, dude. Like, some of the best that I've seen in basketball this year, where if he gets within 8 feet of the basket, it feels like better than a 60% shot right now. And then also he's so good playing off 2 feet. I mean, he's somebody who's got the footwork in the bag there to be effective around the basket. He can shoot pull-ups. He can shoot off the catch. He's great attacking closeouts. He hits you with a pump fake, boom, slithers right past you, gets to that floater. And he's just a very decisive offensive player too. So he's got the on-ball skill. He's a really deceptive high-field passer. So it's not just scoring. His passing is every bit as good. And then he's got the off-ball skill. He's got really good cutting feel. He's got good size defensively. He's got good IQ there. He competes. He's just like this smart, really well-rounded, balanced, efficient, good basketball player. Like, he's just legitimately very good, and it's another home run for OKC. Unbelievable they got this guy with the 38th pick. Their drafting record, their player evaluation, development, it is just like so far beyond anybody else. And they also get themselves more cracks at it than anybody else because they stockpile picks so brilliantly. Like, it's just insane to think, yeah, this team was as great as they were last year, and we all knew they could get better. And now, like, the 2 most important boxes for them to check in terms of getting better, they are checking with authority. Right now, AJ Mitchell would deservedly be your most improved player and your 6th man of the year. He's been that good, and it's just a huge addition to have him playing at this level. He showed out in Summer League. He showed out in preseason. He is showing out in the big dance right now. So I do think that there's really 2 needs that you would have looked at with OKC coming into the year. It's that third ball handler, and then it's maybe the absence of an elite spot-up shooter and some of the shooting up and downs that they had, especially in the playoffs last year. And that remains fair to point out as a potential need for this team. But OKC is shooting 28% from 3 right now this year with J-Dub out, and they're still 4-0. Like, obviously, to reach their ceiling, they're going to have to shoot the ball better, and they can shoot the ball better. But when you have, obviously, this insane all-time defense, and then you have the added creation from guys like Chet and AJ, like, you're able to win these games even with down shooting without J-Dub in a way that wouldn't be possible without the offensive versions of these 2 guys that you're getting now. And when J-Dub is back, Logan, the offensive potential for some of these lineups with Shea, AJ, J-Dub, and Chet would be a level up from anything else that we've seen from OKC offensively. Like, we talk about Shea's incredible ability to float these really efficient offensive units with this super huge burden on him, but to have 4 dudes on the floor who can handle and shoot and create like that off the bounce, like, and that would still be a good ass defensive lineup because whoever's the 5th guy in that group is going to be a sick defensive player. Like, that potential to me is crazy because I think AJ is really going to figure in to the Thunder's upside and plans in a huge way this year. I think that he's the best role player that they have and the most important.
Over Caruso.
Okay, well, I take it back. He's a superstar. Alex Caruso's a superstar in my mind. I guess I was thinking compared even to like a Cason Wallace or a Wiggins, like what he brings on this roster is just so unique. The good thing is the Thunder don't have to choose, and they can go with these guys as needed, and their crazy depth just got even crazier. But there was just a little hole in this roster, and he's just filling it perfectly.
Yeah, I think that they'll probably stagger some of these minutes when J-Dub's back. Like, I don't really know why you would need to have all of them on the same. But, I mean, if your offense, like, stagnates or something. I mean, it's kind of the point, Oak. They just have so much fucking versatility, but
no, I'm not expecting to see much of those lineups with all three of Shea, J-Dub, and AJ out there at all. I think absolutely the beauty is now you can put AJ out there with J-Dub in the non-Shea minutes, and you have more ball handling there, and you can pair him with either of the two like really proven ball handlers. But I also think at some point we should see that look of all three of them out there. And I think the level of dribble penetration and like, as long as dudes are knocking down their shots off the catch, specifically Shea, he's got to be able to shoot the ball better off the catch to be an effective off-ball player. But it's just a level of offensive juice that we've never seen from this OKC team, as great as they've been. And that's scary that they can now add that wrinkle.
Yeah, the three ball is still probably my biggest concern with Oklahoma City, not because they haven't shot it well in the regular season. They consistently have. It's more of it's going to translate to the playoffs. But if Chet's going to play like this offensively, like that cleans up some of my concerns as well. His release does look faster. It looks less hitchy. He's getting into it. He just looks more confident. Some of the stuff he was doing in that Hawks game was super impressive to me. Sized up Mo Gay at the top of the key, just splashed one right in his face. He's flying off of screens and DHOs to get into shots. Like, Chet just looks confident and in control, and he's so smart, like with his, shot selection and stuff like that. He's taking threes, he's working downhill, he's working to looks. Like, Chet does look like he's leveling up this season. And I think, would you expect him to make All-NBA? Because I think the first two guys are obviously Wemby and Jokic, and then it's like everybody else vying for that.
It doesn't matter anymore.
Spot.
It's positionless.
Oh, it is. You're right.
I think he's going to be in those conversations.
Top 15 player is your expectation.
That is where he is going to be around by the end of this year. Yeah, I mean, I think that he's been playing at that level. It's been 4 games, but he's been incredible. And in the eternal battle between Evan Mobley and Chet Holmgren, my two loves of my life. Mobley was the guy who took the bigger leap last year, and he kind of surged forward. Feels like this could be the Chet year, man. I mean, I always hope that both of them are progressing beautifully, but this feels really significant to me, what he's doing and what OKC is finding a way to do without J-Dub. They're 17-0 without J-Dub since last year, Logan. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they just continually find new ways to impress. What's your third takeaway?
My final negative take, I'll get this out of the way. We're going from talking about one of the best teams in the West to one of the worst teams in the West. I think the Phoenix Suns are going to be the second worst team in the Western Conference, man. Like, this might not be that hot of a take considering on what you had for them in the preseason. I had them as the third worst team, but I had them winning 30 games. I thought Phoenix was going to be like a respectable, shitty team where, maybe if you don't bring your A game, Phoenix can catch you lacking. This team fucking sucks, man. I can't dress it up. They are horrible. And I look at some of the other teams that I had them in conversations with. Utah, well, they just lost in overtime to Utah. I definitely like the Jazz more in terms of their talent top to bottom. Their front court completely clears, and they have guys that I like. Like, I like Walter Clayton. Keontae George, I think, is figuring it out a little bit more. I like what he's given this team. There's more talent there.
Sensabaugh, Pablo Escobar.
Oh, my God, dude. Bryce Sensabaugh has been firing me up. I can't lie.
That's an appropriate reaction. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. No, he was just early on that take, man. I think Bryce is a baller, and he may have been right about Will Hardy as a basketball terrorist, man. We're going to have to investigate that guy.
Dude, oh my God. Real quick. Pablo, he said something so funny in his video about Ice Bryce. He said something about, like, the X and O's hoes are all oozing over Will Fraudy, but I'm a player princess? Fuck, he came up with some term to say that coaching is actually about playing the right guys in your rotation instead of what you drop, and I thought, Pablo, that's pretty freaking funny, man, because I do love Will Hardy's X's and O's, but maybe Ice Bryce should be playing more. Every time that he plays, he's good.
Lights it up. He's a bucket. But, I look at some of these teams. Portland, I thought maybe on similar footing. I definitely like Portland more than Phoenix. That defense is
way better.
Legit. Yeah, like they're going to be vying, I think, for a play-in spot. I put them on the same footing as New Orleans, and I thought long and hard on if my take was going to be second worst in the West or worst in the West. I think worst in the West is on the table. I just anticipate Zion probably missing more time than Devin Booker, and that being the differentiator. But they're the same team. This defense has a defensive rating of 125.3, man. Their point of attack personnel is so laughably bad, they can't contain any dribble penetration at all. Like, they are just a flat-out bad two-way team. Offensively, Dillon Brooks is going to be taking 15 to 20 shots a night. Definitely not where you want to be as a franchise in the big 2026. And then defensively, like I mentioned, man, they just don't have the guys to stop dribble penetration, to rebound the ball, to protect the rim. I think Book might be as good as gone, man. I don't know how Devin Booker could put up with this. Now, I do think it's worthwhile to mention that Jalen Green isn't out there for Phoenix.
He's coming to save the day. Known winner.
I was talking about this on the Monday Night Football live stream with known Suns fan Theo Ash, and he was like, well, you know, Jalen Green should make the offense a little bit better. And I'm like, I guess. Like, you know, he's definitely talented, but it's like Jalen Green is
going to get shots up.
For sure. He's as much of a roller coaster as a player as it gets. And for the most part, it's downhill. Like, I'm just disappointed. I thought the Suns were going to put up more of a fight than this. They stink. They suck. So that's my final negative take. I've got some more positive takes about some teams that I do like, but I'll get that out there, man. And I know you, what did you predict? Like 25 wins? Like, what was your preseason prediction?
I think I landed on 25. I thought the Suns were going to suck.
I overshot it. I think this team is going to win like 20 fucking games, man. I think they stink. They are. It's ugly.
They're really terrible. I would like to apologize to the superior Utah Jazz. I just like that front court so much. And I've always liked the front court. I was worried about the guard situation, but now that they're bought in and they're like actually trying to be competitive again, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but the Kessler-Lowry duo, oh, I love those two guys. So, yeah, they have looked better so far. I mean, the Suns do have a Devin Booker, and the Suns have pretty much nothing else. I haven't watched a lot of the Suns yet this year, so there's not really much that I can say about them, but it's not surprising to me that they've been bad on both sides of the ball because I think they are bad on both sides of the ball, and I still like the Pelicans' talent more. Like, if you're asking me between those two, I would lean on the Pels. I still think at full strength they have a decent roster. I think that Poole really does bring some juice as a creator, and what they've got on the wings alongside Zion, who's been an absolute monster when he's out there. Like, I would take that over this Suns roster that is just totally lacking talent or cohesion on both sides of the ball. Very rough. I would like to shout out a guy who is doing a hell of a job elevating the talent around him, and that is Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think that Giannis is going to have the craziest numbers of his career this year. I think he's going to have his best offensive season, and I think he's going to make the Bucks offense really good. He has been absurd to start the year. He's been better than everybody other than Wemby, and if you wanted to debate those two, I think that's totally fair, but the level we've gotten from a lot of these superstars, I mean, Luka before he got hurt was ridiculous. Shea is putting up ridiculous numbers, like top 5 in the NBA right now. Pretty crazy. But Wemby and Giannis have been the two best, and Giannis is averaging a cool 36, 16, and 7 on 72% true shooting. And so far this year, we really shouldn't even use on-off numbers this early in the season, but if it didn't feel so damn right, I wouldn't mention it. They have a 124 offensive rating with him, a 104 offensive rating without him. Again, we need way more of a sample for that to stabilize, but it feels very appropriate when you watch the Bucks play basketball right now. They are 100% dependent on Giannis ball, but that's exactly how it should be, Logan. And I am actually really happy to see how they've approached the year so far because although the roster talent is limited, they are playing the right dudes with him. He's playing with 4 shooters at pretty much all times. And that's where Miles Turner, he was never going to be the white knight saving the team, saving the season, but he is a really good fit alongside Giannis. And more importantly to me is the decision that they made on the wings, because I was concerned that they were going to start Kyle Kuzma, and Kyle Kuzma alongside Giannis is a basketball terrorist. The fit is just so bad. They don't need somebody who is prone to taking bad shots. They don't need somebody who is a very questionable outside shooter. They are much better off putting the ball in Giannis's hands every possession and putting 2 elite elite three-point shooters alongside him and putting teams in this predicament where, well, if they stay home on shooters, Giannis is going to carve you up and waltz right to the rim. But if you aggressively help, well, he's a great passer who can make these pretty routine kick-out passes to these awesome shooters who can just splash it. And that's what they're doing. AJ Green is, I think, shooting 58% from three right now. He's one of the best spot-up shooters in basketball. Like, he could shoot 48% from three this year. I'm not joking, especially with the looks that he's getting playing off of Giannis right now. And Giannis has only played 11 total minutes with Kuz, which is such a W. I want to see that relationship limited as much as possible. But this really is the path. Like, spread out around Giannis and run every single possession through him. You are going to get much better results doing that because pretty much every possession down, you're going to have a good outcome. Again, it is going to be Giannis scores or Giannis draws a lot of help and creates a good shot for a great shooter. When you try to like force some other shitty, like quote unquote creator into the lineup, like a Kuzma, you end up just taking the ball out of Giannis's hands more for a player who is way worse playing off of him, off ball. And you just kind of end up wasting possessions when the other formula actually makes a lot of sense. And like along those lines, Kuz is the first guy I look at, but I don't like KPJ either. And I think he's a guy who you look at and you say, oh, the Bucks just need some ball handling. I'd rather go with Ryan Rollins right now than KPJ because he's so active defensively. I think he's like absolute top of the league in steals and deflections right now. And he's just a much better role player. I just think he's a higher IQ guy, a higher effort guy. He's putting up threes with volume right now, and he's a good shooter. He just has to shoot it better. But again, they don't need KPJ stepping on Giannis's toes and doing dumb shit.
Better playmaker, too.
Better playmaker. Like, no matter what, they don't have meaningful ball handling talent to put alongside him. Like, the two guys who they could try to force into that role are really flawed and ultimately pretty dumb and, in my opinion, bad basketball players.
Oh, dude, you don't have a Cole Anthony take after his 23-point game?
Cole Anthony did go off. And look, like, yes, off the bench, they need guys who can do something with the ball in their hands because it's going to be rough without Giannis no matter what. But that's where it makes sense to play more of those guys who can at least bring a little bit of creation. But it just doesn't need to be alongside Giannis. And even understanding that the personnel is limited here, he is so ridiculous. And he has just become such a titan offensively that when the fit is right around him, and the fit is right now, they could win 50 games. They could be a real Eastern Conference Finals threat. Like, Giannis could walk into a series against just about anybody in the East, and he could average 36, 16, and 7 on 65% true shooting. And the guys around him could rain threes and make 17 threes a game at a 45% clip. Like, that's the vision with this team. And that's the best vision that this team could have. So at some point, do I worry about the lack of ball handling alongside Giannis? Sure. But I still think that this is the best formula that they've got. And when you look at like the teams around them in the East, the Magic, we already talked about, off to a very uninspiring 1-3 start. The Pistons, off to a very uninspiring 2-2 start. And it's been an ugly 2-2. I mean, they haven't had Jaden Ivey, but they're 27th in offensive rating. The Hawks, my Hawks, who I was really high on coming into the year, they've had some injuries, but they're off to a 1-3 start. And like specifically, Cade, Paolo, and Trey have all been really bad. And so you can talk about those supporting casts being better in comparison to Milwaukee's, but what you do know is that the star player quotient is going to favor Giannis and the Bucks by 1,000,000. So not to say that all my expectations are changing. Like specifically, I'm most optimistic about Atlanta. I do still really like their roster. I like their path to winning a lot of basketball games. And again, they haven't been healthy. KP's been hurt. Reece Shay's been hurt. Jalen Johnson missed a game. But the other two, Detroit and Orlando, have really seemed underwhelming so far. So I just think there's a very real possibility that like that combination of Giannis being consistently unstoppable and really good shooting around him, that could get you the 3 seed. That could get you a playoff win. That could maybe get you 2 playoff wins in this East. And they were always in the same range as these other teams who I'm talking about in terms of my preseason expectations, but so far they've just looked flat out better. And shout out to Giannis, because I think we're going to see like one of the all-time carry jobs this year. Again, not to say he's going to make them an elite team, but taking this group and being so overwhelming as an offensive force, and specifically just in his ability to pressure the paint over and over and over again, he's going to do some special stuff. And I like what I'm seeing in Milwaukee right now.
I do too. I think the carry job is on the table. The only thing that worries me about Milwaukee is the physical strain on Giannis having to do this every single game. It's not really like, I think the offensive results are going to be great. I think the personnel they're playing around him is phenomenal. I think it should be a good enough defense. It's just the strain, and I wonder if the physical toll, Giannis has missed time in the playoffs when they've gotten there. That's my only real concern when it comes to Milwaukee and their prospects.
Totally fair. Totally fair. And again, like I would say there are more concerns even beyond that. Like they are playing some very one-dimensional players alongside him, and they do lack ball handling. And no matter how great you are as your offensive engine, like there does come a point where in these really high leverage matchups against really good teams, that does concern me. And I just don't think they're talented enough to, go all the way to the finals. Probably.
For sure.
But damn, Giannis is insane. And it's like he should make them a top 10 offense, and I think they should be a slightly above average defense. And I just feel more confident in what I am getting from Giannis plus shooters than a number of other teams right now.
That's interesting because I feel the exact opposite way. One of the teams that you brought up when we were talking about the East, I am pretty confident in. I think the Detroit Pistons are going to host a playoff series. Not a super hot take, lukewarm, but I think they are going to be a top 4 seed. This is what I predicted for them in the preseason. I had them going 48-34 in my number 4 seed. Last season, for reference, they were 44-38 as the number 6 seed. But I look at a lot of hallmarks of good regular season teams, and I like the boxes that Detroit checks. One, the defense. They are a top 10 defense right now, and they have a ton of youth and athleticism, a ton of just defensive disruptors. Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, Cade, is a bigger, rangy guard. And I think it's going to lead to them, again, winning on defense like they have been, but also dominating the glass. Against Houston, they beat them on the glass 48-45, and they attempt 7 more field goals than Houston overall in that game. Against Boston has some pretty poor front court players, but they out-rebound them by 17 in that game. You look at some of the margins in this game. Crush Boston in fast break points. They beat Boston by 13 in second chance points, and in points in the paint, they bludgeoned both Houston and Boston. And so I think that Detroit, against 90% of the league, should win those categories. Defense, rebounding, second chance points, points in the paint. Like, this is an athletic, physical, strong team. And then I look at them on the offensive side of the ball with this elite defense, and while Cade's had a disappointing start to the season, they have a guy who I believe in as the offensive number 1. Are there things that Cade needs to improve upon? Yes. The turnovers are the biggest thing with Cade to me as an offensive engine. Like, that to me increases the margin that Detroit has in those other areas if he could protect the ball better. And if he could just be a more, takeover isolation scorer. That's a limitation that I'm not as encouraged by Cade. But what can they do to supplement that? They've got some really solid shooting around him in guys like Duncan Robinson, in Tobias Harris. And like you mentioned, Jaden Ivey has missed time to start the year. Marcus Sasser has missed time to start the year. Karis LeVert has missed time to start the year. So you look at, they are missing some other ball handlers and offensive scorers on this team. And don't get me wrong. Again, I don't think this team is just going to win 50 games or be a juggernaut or be unstoppable. My take here is that I think they end up as a top 4 seed. They host a playoff series, and they're a really rock-solid regular season team. When I look at them in comparison to other regular season teams, Atlanta, Porzingis is going to miss time this year and probably be on a minutes restriction in certain games. And I like Detroit's defense way more than Atlanta. Milwaukee, very Giannis dependent. And so I like Detroit more than that. Indiana, I had high expectations for in the preseason. I'm kind of out on Indiana. I think they're just going to miss the playoffs and be bad. But, so I look at this weak-ass Eastern Conference, and I like how Detroit shapes up. So I think there are flaws that limit them as a playoff team and that will keep them from going on a playoff run. But solely as a regular season team, I really like Detroit's formula, and I think they're going to be pretty damn successful in the regular season.
Interesting. When I look around, like, I do think that the Bucks clearly have more upside. Now, the way in which Detroit is a better regular season to me is if Giannis misses 15 games, the Bucks go 3-12 in those games. I mean, you really can't overstate how valuable he is to everything for them. They are going to immediately fall apart if he misses time, and that is a possibility. Giannis has had his issues being banged up in regular seasons and playoffs too. And like you said, like, the physical toll on him is really, really massive. So I could see that. I think when we're looking at like these visions of teams that are young and like defensive minded and leaning on that one guard to be their offensive engine out east, I do prefer Atlanta's formula there to Detroit. I think that they have more offensive punch. They have the offensive player specifically who I do trust more between these two teams. I trust Trey more offensively than Cade. And I just like the totality of their wings more. I think what they're able to do in transition. I'm still high on Atlanta's defense. I think they've got a shit ton of athletes there and versatility. And when KP's on the floor, they've got really good rim protection. So I just do still see more dynamism there with them. I think the Pistons have some real issues in the half court offensively. I think like the importance of having an elite shooter or release valve like Malik Beasley, that was so big for them. And Duncan Robinson, I do like. He's not quite that level of shooting weapon though. I mean, he's really good, but he's a really good movement shooter coming off screens like Beasley, but I would say that Beasley's even a little bit better there, and Beasley can do a little bit of something as a pull-up shooter that Duncan can't quite. And I look around, and I still think that Cade has a lot of these issues when we talk about the efficiency, the rim finishing, the turnovers, the pull-up three-point shooting, all that.
I don't think this is a good half-court offense. This is a defense, rebounding, physicality. They're going to just dog teams. That's what I'm betting on with Detroit.
So what I would say is I like Atlanta's formula to kind of overwhelm you athletically, physically, and then be a better offense. I prefer that. I think Milwaukee's just a much better offense. I just don't think they're going to be healthy enough
again. And I think there's some offensive jankiness a little bit with Atlanta too. KP's inconsistencies. Dyson Daniels struggles offensively.
They got a lot more weaponry, man. They got a lot more weaponry than Detroit.
I don't know if they're going to be consistently available enough to win more games.
Okay, if you're going to say health, I mean, I can't argue that. We're just going to have to see. We're just going to have to see if they're healthy over an 82-game season.
I don't really think, and
team.
I'll just say this, I don't think there's that big of a gap between Atlanta and Detroit.
Well, I don't think there's a huge gap, but I think I've laid out all the reasons that I like Atlanta's formula more. I mean, Detroit's a 10th percentile half-court offense up to this point. It's been really rough. Now, we'll see what Jaden Ivey does. We'll see how much he helps. I mean, he is really, really important as another ball handler here, and if he can be serious and decently competitive defensively, and if he can shoot the ball close to how he was shooting it last year before he got hurt, that could make me feel better about Detroit. Right now, I have not liked what I've seen from them. I think Asar has been impressive, but I still think there's a lot of funkiness with him as a half-court offensive player.
He's going to keep getting better, man. I think Asar and Amin both have insane ceilings as players.
I like Asar a lot, too. I like Asar a lot. But what I'm saying is right now there are a lot of funky, very flawed offensive players who the Detroit Pistons are relying on. And as good as Cade is, that does include him to an extent. Like when you're talking about actually playoff offense number one, he's still got to clean a lot of this stuff up and refine it more. So I'm not as high on Detroit as you are. But again, Jaden Ivey is going to be the really interesting addition to see here. And more Levert, because he only played the one game, he's important as another ball handler for them. Like, they are down a couple of offensive guys who could make things a little bit better there. I'm going to shout out a team that I think is looking like a top 4 group in the West, and that is the Golden State Warriors. Man, I really like what we've seen from them so far. The big three is incredible. We all know that. Well, if you don't know that, you haven't been paying enough attention, and maybe you're ageist or something, because very clearly all the results last year indicated that. Once Jimmy joined the team, when he and Steph played together, the Dubs were 22-5. They were elite on both sides of the ball. They've still got a top-tier offensive engine in Steph. They've got a top-tier defensive player in Draymond, and they've got a really damn good number 2 on both sides of the ball who complements them so well in Jimmy Butler. We've known all that. That being said, all 3 guys have looked awesome this year. Like, Steph Curry, man, I'm just not ready to move him any lower than 6 in my player rankings. Like, we've talked about Wemby firmly entering that top 5. I still think that Steph is better than everybody else on the planet. He is just absolutely absurd offensively still. Jimmy, we have seen be a little bit more aggressive as a scorer. He's getting to the free throw line at such a ridiculous rate, of course, and doing all of the great connective, complementary stuff he always does. Draymond is Draymond as always. That's such a great foundation. And so the Warriors season has always really hinged to me on what level are you getting from the role players around them? And that's what's moving me right now. Like, specifically, Jonathan Kuminga has looked awesome, dude. It's by far the best basketball that he has ever played. And I know that there was a stretch in December of last year when he was averaging 20 points per game.
Man. He's got that financial incentive this year.
He does have the financial incentive, and it's working. Like, 18, 8, and 4 on 70% true shooting, 65% on 2s, 43% from 3, getting to the line a lot. He's always been somebody who's a freak athlete, who is capable as a self-creator and can bring you some scoring punch. But the issues have always been everything around that. His defensive issues, his bad offensive decision-making, low feel, bad passing, pretty bad jump shooting. Right now, we are getting the best rebounding version of Kuminga that we ever have, the best cutting version where, I mean, he's just consistently getting in the right spots, and he's this elite athlete. The best passing, I mean, 4 assists a game for him. Like, you can't really overstate how significant it is that he's getting in that 3 to 5 range every game this year. He's just making the simple right reads. If it's in transition, stressing the defense downhill and then making a kick out pass. I mean, he had a really nice short roll find to GP2, I believe it was yesterday. The decision making, the feel, it's been better. The shooting has been better, and we'll see if that holds up. It's not that, like, overnight he figured everything out, right? It's not a miracle. There's, like, still a couple possessions a game that are frustrating with him, but he really is getting it. He is totally playing within himself and trying to be a cohesive, additive part of the whole. Like, Kuminga has always approached the game as, I'm so talented, let's see what I can do with the ball in my hands as a scorer. And that is not what the Warriors have needed from him, especially not when they have Steph Curry on the floor, and Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. What they need from their role players is to fill in some of these gaps. And when you get this engaged, committed version of Kuminga, who also is like a special athlete, well, now you're getting all of the stuff that he's doing on the margins that you've always wanted from him. And now it's like, oh, awesome. We do have a guy who can give us some of these scoring spurts and can score on 3 straight possessions and can be a really effective driver and can bring a little bit of juice with the ball in his hands that we don't have when you look further down this roster. Like, everything that he does just becomes a meaningful addition to this team. I do still wish he was a better defender. I'm kind of baffled whenever there is somebody who is as good of an athlete as Kuminga is, and it just doesn't translate defensively, especially because, like, he's trying more there. Just doesn't have the instincts, and, like, just laterally is not as good at staying in front of people as you would think an athlete like him is. But, again, he's putting in more effort on that side of the ball, and overall, I give him an A++ for this season. Like, I just did not expect this whatsoever for Jonathan Kuminga. I don't think you could find somebody who was more done with the Kuminga experience, because my frustrations with him had just built and built and built, and there was really nothing to alleviate them. We saw him getting DNPs last year, and deservedly so, because he was just that bad of a fit with Steph and Jimmy. He couldn't do what the Warriors needed him to do, and now he is, and he's talented, and it's coming together really nicely. And there's, like, a bit of a lingering fear in the back of my mind that the bottom is going to fall out, but at the same time, we've never seen this before, so it's as encouraging as it could be. And also, last night, I thought we got, like, an A+ game from all of the young guards and wing role players. Like, Pods was decisive. When Pods is decisive and shooting well, I fucking love him, man, because he's smart and he does so many winning things out there. It just comes down to his offensive production, where Sometimes he looks terrified and he can't make a shot. Sometimes he looks confident. He really looked confident yesterday. And it's not just like threes off the catch. I mean, he was getting to his floater game. We'll see how much better he is from last year, but you got to remember this is still a third-year guy. And so if he becomes a little bit more reliable as a ball handler and a shot maker, that means something for this team. Moses Moody, shooting the ball incredibly well. We'll see if that holds up, but I do think his mechanics look a little bit cleaner, so that was encouraging. And then Will Richard, man, the 56th pick in the draft. I just love the guy. I just think he's an awesome high-feel 3-and-D wing, but also a great cutter, which is such an important thing in a system like the Warriors where there's so much motion. Like, just in the right spots consistently. I love him. I think he's a playoff player this year. Like, I think he's a guy who can give you 10, 12 minutes a game, and I was not expecting them to get that with the 56th pick. And we haven't even seen DeAnthony Melton yet, who I think is a great fit as a role player, complementary two-way guard for this team. So if they keep getting these versions of these role guys, then really my only real concern with this team is just how reliant they are on Al Horford in terms of the bigs. And I really like Al Horford's fit for this team, but they desperately need him. TJD, shout out for being the 57th pick. He's just not good. He's one of the worst finishing bigs I've seen in my life. He's not somebody you want playing playoff minutes. I'll put it like that. Quentin Post is also not somebody you want playing playoff minutes when you can get the shooting of an Al Horford, who is also better at everything else on a basketball court than Quentin Post is. But if you're getting like 25 good minutes from Horford in the playoffs, and then you pretty much go small the rest of the game. I mean, the lineup they started with yesterday, with Kuminga playing like this, a Steph, Pods, Kuminga, Dre, Jimmy lineup, like that is lethal offensively, and they can hold their own defensively. There's a lot of speed there and switchability and IQ. There's not a lot for me to point at with this team and say, yeah, that's a concern. Like, I guess I would still like a bench ball handler, but the offense has just looked pretty amazing right now, and Kuminga does bring some more juice there. And again, maybe Pods can be a little bit better there this year. So the role players need to keep this up. And then it's like, all right, can Steph go crazy? And can Jimmy be a 21 point per game scorer for you when we're talking about them making a deep playoff run? But I don't know. When I look at the West, OKC is obviously number one. Denver is clearly number two for me still. After that, I feel like I like the Warriors just about as much as anybody. And I don't think this season could have really gotten off to much of a better start for them.
Yeah, I think the big picture is about Steph and Jimmy, especially if Steph can just keep it up. I mean, this team is incapable, I think, of winning on a Steph off night if you were to have one, right, in the playoffs or something like that. He's just got to give you that kind of punch. But Kuminga's the X factor, and Kuminga's been doing everything right. Rebounding the hell out of the ball, getting downhill. Like, I didn't see this on the table for Kuminga, and I hope he keeps it up. Again, I think he is exactly what this team needs, like this kind of athletic beast. And if he can take this kind of scoring burden off of Steph and Jimmy at this stage in his career, I don't know. I'm encouraged. I'd like to say I'm not skeptical, but I kind of am. I don't know. I want to see it over a couple more weeks, but he's looked really good to start this year.
I just think we can underestimate maybe, well, I don't think I really do this, but maybe to an extent even, just how good the Warriors' big three is and just how well they fit each other. Because, like, again, we're talking about a team that went 22-5 and then won a playoff series, and then Steph got hurt, and now they're off to a great start this year. Like, they've pretty much done nothing but play elite basketball together. And even though that Rocket series wasn't pretty, Jimmy was hurt. He was banged up at least. And the role players were just not as good as they are now. I mean, the role players who are still on the roster are playing better now than they were last year. Small sample size, but like the Kuminga stuff, he's a totally different player, obviously. He wasn't even in the rotation in the Rockets series for long stretches. And then now you also have like these actual additions, if it's Melton, Horford, even a Will Richard that I really like. And they're just a basketball team that makes a lot of sense and they really work together. So I do agree. Like, Steph and Jimmy have to be really good. I just think Steph has been playing ridiculous basketball for an extended stretch now. Last 30 games of last year, he was 27 a game on 65% true shooting. I think he's been awesome to start this year. What he did to the Nuggets was absolutely ridiculous. So I do have a lot of confidence in him rising to that pretty phenomenal level. And he's always going to be insanely impactful with the attention that he draws. And he's got dudes around him now who are playing smart basketball, who are making shots, who athletically are finishing plays. And they're just doing all the right stuff. I think the Warriors are certainly the smartest team in basketball. And Jonathan Kuminga, being somebody who can fit into that, it was not on my bingo board. I am thrilled to be wrong. Like, genuinely, I pray to God that he keeps it up, because that would be one of the most pleasant surprises that I've had in the NBA in a while. For 4 years, this guy was somebody, and if now he's really flipped the switch and he's who they needed him to be, that would be fantastic. Give me one more takeaway, Logan. Pretty please.
This is my most bonkers take.
Oh? Ace Bailey is going to win Rookie of the Year? We're going back?
I hit him with the old Uno reverse. The Hornets are going to make the playoffs if LaMelo and Brandon Miller can stay healthy. I'm in. Granted, they have not really played anybody and proven it against real competition, but damn it, I'm a week in and I want to get fired up about something.
Look, man, it's the East. You only have to win 32 games to make the playoffs.
Exactly.
It's like MJ's second year when he missed 60 games and they still made the playoffs. Literally, I think they won 30 games.
Dude, the East play-in is actually going to be so funny this year.
We don't need it.
Pointless.
We get rid of it.
I agree. I know you had that take a while back where you were like, it should get triggered, and I completely agree. This is pointless. But anyway, they have been such an elite offensive group through the beginning of this season. They are a really fun watch. Like, I just enjoy watching Hornets basketball, which isn't something I ever thought I'd say in my life. They're number 2 in offensive rating right now. LaMelo Ball is playing such good basketball, 28 points, 8 boards, 10 assists on 63.6% true shooting, 2 steals a game. The biggest thing with LaMelo, super impressive playmaking and pace. That's always been a hallmark of Charlotte. They're playing like the number 6 pace team in the league, and I think this is a strength of theirs. But specifically, great decision-making, playing really unselfishly, and just taking smarter shots. That's kind of been one of the things that I don't like about LaMelo is some of his decision-making and shot selection at times. But, like, he seems more bought in and more confident in his teammates' ability to make plays this year. So they've beaten Brooklyn and Washington, nothing crazy thus far. But the other thing that I really like from the Hornets to start this season has just been the play of some of the new guys that they've added. I love the additions of shooting that they've added, especially Knuppel. He's just a solid NBA player, and that's how you enhance a guy like LaMelo, man. You give him some spot-up shooting. And then I've liked what I've seen from the defenders around these guys. They're not elite two-way players, but they can do their jobs defensively to make up for it. Diabate, I think, is a really good rebounder. I think he can struggle in some of these physical matchups against strong centers. Like, he kind of gets moved around on the interior sometimes, but he's a really talented rebounder. Kalkbrenner was an absolute steal for this team. He's huge. I didn't realize it. Like, we even watched him at Summer League and preseason. He is fucking massive.
I'm pissed at myself for not being higher on Kalkbrenner in this center rotation simply because he is absolutely massive. And when you are that massive, you're going to probably find a way to produce.
Yeah.
When you're that massive and, like, reasonably coordinated. I think he's shooting like 88% from the field right now. And, like, per minute, he's been very productive.
He doesn't do too much. He's going to rebound at a high rate. He's going to take smart shots. He's a good player. And then shout out, I like this guy Sion James down the roster for them. I've liked what I've seen from him. So right now they're 10th in defensive rating. Obviously, I don't think they have the personnel to keep that up. I think this is going to be a below average defense. But I think with healthy LaMelo and Brandon Miller, this can be one of the elite offenses in basketball. On the health point, Miller is out with a left shoulder injury. Not sure when he's going to return. And for LaMelo, we've said this stat before on the show. He's only played in 43.7% of games over the last 3 seasons. So health is always a big question mark with him. But if these guys can stay healthy, man, I'm bought in on Charlotte. They, I think, are going to be one of the surprise teams in terms of expectations to results this year.
Very interesting, Logan. Now, again, the bar in the East is quite low. But let's go through let's see. You're saying that they're going to be top 8. So I obviously have my beloved Cavs up top. Then you've got to have the Knicks. Then you go Bucks, Hawks, Pistons, Magic. Now we're at 6. I think you got to have the Sixers in there. And then me personally, I think the Heat are really solid. The Raptors are okay, but it's like not unreasonable to say that the Hornets could wind up in that 8 range. Now, I won't go out on a limb like you are, because I am worried about the Hornets for a number of reasons. I do think that the defense is actually going to be quite awful. I think that they have played the Brooklyn Nets and the Washington Wizards so far, and those are their 2 wins, and that's important context to keep in mind, even though the Wizards have looked a little better this year. Shout out Keyshawn George. Shout out Alex Sarr. Definitely worth monitoring the offensive development of those 2. The Nets are the worst team in basketball, though, and so I think the defense just doesn't have the talent to be anything other than bad. But one of my 5th takeaways was just shouting out like the surprise best offenses in basketball, and the Hornets are part of that. I mean, they're number 2 in offensive rating so far, and there is the potential for them to be a good offense. I mentioned last year, I think when LaMelo and Brandon Miller were on the floor together, they had like a 117 offensive rating. The problem is that they just fell apart when they were without either of those guys, especially when they were without LaMelo. LaMelo's playing great basketball right now, though. When he is this level of pull-up shooter, I mean, he's making over 4 a game at an elite clip. He does have an ability to get by you, and even with his rim finishing issues, although he's been getting the line at a pretty good rate and finishing at the rim well so far this year, we know that that's always been a problem for him throughout his career. He can at least create some of that dribble penetration, and he's a really good passer, and he's just been carving teams up. Now, again, consider the competition they've played, but he's been really, really good, and he does have that ability to be like an actual offensive engine, and I just love the pace they're playing with. Like, Colin Sexton, dude, has been torching teams in transition. He is just
I'm glad you brought
fast
him up
and down the
too.
court.
Yeah, man, he's another guy that can supplement kind of that
Totally.
that stuff for LaMelo and Brandon.
Totally, and that's the vision with them having a Sexton and a Trey Mann is like, let's get some more offensive juice in the backcourt.
So funny to me, this team had Nurkic on this team last year, man. Like, he is with this, with how they're playing this year. I mean, he's an anti-Charlotte Hornet. Actually, shout out Nurk. I like how he's looked in Utah for them too.
Shout out to the Bosnian Beast. But I do like what they have at center going a little bit more than I thought I would. I thought that was going to be pretty dire, and the Cock has been really killing it on the offensive boards. That's been part of the formula. Like, he's been a great offensive rebounder. Musa, we know that's like his calling card, but the Hornets are towards the top of the league in offensive rebound rate, and those guys are part of it. So you've got LaMelo, who is really getting what he wants right now. You've got Sexton, who I think is like 8th in transition points per game and has been really nice, providing some scoring punch for them. And Khan, just awesome. I mean, he's just like 100% confidence he's going to be a good NBA player. He already is a good NBA player, but he was a top 2 shooter in this draft. He's got good feel, like just always going to be a positive offensive contributor. It's a fun little formula that they've put together. Honestly, it's going to be interesting to see how much Brandon Miller really does like fit into things, just because, you know, he didn't get off to a super good start necessarily before he got hurt, and I just still need to see him be more efficient as a shot maker, and there's the rim finishing questions with him. I do like Brandon Miller, but LaMelo running the show with these guys so far, it's been pretty good. So shout out to the Hornets. I need to see a fair bit more before I go even saying, you know, playoffs or even play in confidently. But the offense has looked good, and the offense has the potential to be pretty good. But the number 1 offense in basketball, Logan, has been the Philadelphia 76ers, because their backcourt has been going nuclear, man. We already talked about VJ. He's been incredible. But Tyrese Maxey averaging 37, 4, and 8. Making 5 threes a game and 9 free throws a game. Like, it's just insanity. It's James Harden's wet dream. It's Daryl Morey's wet dream. He's the one who's watching it up close and personal. Maxey's really good. This is one of the best stretches we've ever seen from him. I mean, he does have a combination of speed and pull-up shooting that is really quite rare. And when he is this good as a pull-up shooter, because Sometimes he can be a little bit inconsistent there. And when he's this consistently getting downhill and getting into the paint and getting to the rim, and his floater touch is so good, just like, wow. And he's creating a lot of shots for teammates, and they're shooting the shit out of it from deep. I mean, they're second in threes made, and they're number one in three-point percentage. This is the team that, like, I'm seeing the vision with, if we're talking about great starts to the season offensively. I just think if they get decent versions of Paul George and Embiid, this is absolutely a team that can win a playoff series. And to be fair, those are big question marks, but I think even without those guys, or if those guys give you 30 decent games apiece, like in this East, the Sixers are going to be in the playoffs. The defense has been pretty bad, but the offense has been sick, and that's without Jared McCain.
Yeah,
and
the
that's
guard
without
rotation is absolutely
PG.
ridiculous. Dude, and Quentin Grimes, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got dudes. They've got dudes.
They've got guards and wings, and they've got dudes who can put pressure on the basket and get
And they
past
just
you and are
fly
fast, and
up-
they've got
and they
shooters.
They just fly up the damn court, man. Hella athletes.
I like Philly, dude. Like, I think if they got top 10 Embiid, this is a team that could maybe go out there and win the East. Like, and I'm not banking on that version of Joel Embiid, okay? I'm just saying, when you look at the state of the conference, there is a lot of young talent here that is firing me up. So, for now, we're just going to say playoffs are the expectations. But outside of the injury stuff, they couldn't have had a better start to the year. So, shout out to Philly, man. They've been really, really fun. And when you think about where they were a year ago, where it's like, oh my God, Embiid looks cooked. Paul George looks cooked. We're so committed to these guys. What is our future? For them to then almost luck into Quentin Grimes, for them to make a great draft pick in VJ Edgecombe, and now have McCain coming back, it's just like they've really, really found a lot of light in what was previously a very, very dark tunnel, Logan, that looked like it was going to continue for a long time. You could even say that they found love
Aaron
in a
Rodgers
hopeless place.
reference?
Has Aaron Rodgers said that? That doesn't surprise me at all.
No, I'm saying he emerged from the darkness.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. That is true. That is true. What a start to the NBA season. You guys are probably wondering, oh my God, when are we going to hear from you next? So soon. So freaking soon. We are going to have another NBA show Friday. Hopefully before then, I'll have a YouTube video up going in depth about probably one of these standout topics that we discussed today, but getting even more into it all because I'm just so happy that the season is back, Logan. And even though I may often compare you to figures of history like Vlad the Impaler and insinuate that you had a close personal friendship with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, I do very much enjoy talking basketball with you. And
What
I
the
had
fuck
just
is
a
this guy
delightful time
talking
today.
about, man?
I'm saying these are the things that often I have to reckon with. I
Yeah,
gotta
dude,
say,
there's
yeah, I like
nobody
this
I
guy's
enjoy talking
ball
about
opinion.
balls with more than you, bruh. Now let's
You're gonna
guess.
make me cry. And you're gonna make me cry. You're gonna make me cry on the podcast, Logan. And that's gonna go viral in the wrong way. People are gonna mock me. They're gonna call me soft. When everybody knows I'm a big, tough guy.
It's okay to show your emotions. And it's okay if you're not doing okay and you need to reach out and talk to someone.
DeMar DeRozan? Kevin
Look,
Love?
man, it's not bad to have emotions, man. It's all right. Let's take a mental health break.
I'm just shouting out famed mental
Look, dude,
health
you're a big. I
advocates,
know you're a
DeMar
big,
DeRozan
strong
and
guy,
Kevin
but
Love.
it's okay to cry, man. If you got those emotions,
Do
just
you really think
feel
I'm big
them.
and strong? How much do you think I could lift with my
Car,
arms?
Mark Henry,
Oh my God.
and a car.
That is exactly what I needed to get my day going, Logan. Thank you. You have no idea how much I needed that. And you guys have no idea how much we need you. Without you guys, with nobody listening, we'd just be screaming into the void.
Well, you'd be schizophrenic.
We would just be going on and on about Kalkbrenner this, and then it would descend into some mad rant about God knows what, group economics. And
The potato famine, yeah.
1815, the year without a summer, when there was a volcanic eruption in Indonesia and nobody saw the sun in Asia or Europe for a number of months because of all of the clouds of ash clogging up the atmosphere. That's what we'd be talking about all the time. And you guys validate us because when you guys are there to hear it, it makes it all okay and it makes us less insane and it gives us a reason to do all that stuff and an excuse. So we appreciate you. And we appreciate the NBA. So good to have it back. If you want more of our stuff, you know where to find it, all across our YouTube channels. We only have one, but it's all across there. NBA, NFL. We cover a lot on that one channel, I'll tell you that. You can listen to the full episodes across all audio platforms, and you can follow us across social. where we are all over the place. TikTok and Instagram at NerdSesh, Twitter at Nerd_Sesh to see all of our daily content. You can also join our Discord if you want to be part of our community and chat with the gang over there. So with that, as always, appreciate you guys. I've been Carson Brabber.
I have been Logan Camden.
And this was Nerd Sesh.